professional purposes. This is Teacher T. Novandres Clemente Junior National High School, and I am grateful to be with you in this journey where you will discover the secrets of becoming an effective writer. In this episode, we will learn how to analyze the arguments used by the writers of manifestos. Before we start, make sure that you have there the copy of your modules, ball pen, and paper for taking down notes. So, I guess you are now ready. Let's go! Reading latest articles such as those that are printed in newspapers and those that are shown on television is a must-do thing that you should be concerned of because it helps you be acquainted with what is happening around you. This might give you knowledge about the present societal and political issues such as the dispute between the government and the leftists and also the updates about the COVID-19 pandemic. It might also give you idea on the updates about the trends in literature and the arts. Also, official statements of essential individuals in our society must also be given consideration. But how would we know that you are reading the right thing? It is where you need to learn about manifesto. Have you ever heard about a manifesto? When we talk about manifesto, it is a document publicly declaring the position or program of its issuer. It advances set of ideas, opinions, or views, but it can also lay out a plan of action. While it can address any topic, it most often concerns art, literature, or politics. Manifesto are generally written in the name of a group, sharing a common perspective, ideology, or purpose rather than in the name of a single individual. So, how are we going to know the presented arguments in a given text? But before that, let us first define what is an argument. Argument is defined as a reason or the reasoning given for or against a matter under discussion by comparing pieces of evidence and proof. First, briefly note the main or key assertion. What does the writer want me to believe or do? Second, make a note of the reasons the author makes to support his or her conclusion. Third, order the arguments and conclusion to reveal the logical arrangement. And fourth, underline the most important reason. To guide you on how to analyze arguments, you may consider the following questions after reading a manifesto. First, how credible and persuasive are the pieces of evidence given? Second, is the text complete? What assumptions are stated and not stated? Third, is the meaning clear? Does the conclusion logically follow from the given pieces of evidence? Fourth, what ramifications and complexities might arise from the assertion? And the last one is, do I believe the premises? Now that you have learned about manifesto and the arguments, let's do this short activity. Read the text, then take note of the key information and reasons that this manifesto makes to support its assertion by following these instructions. Number 1. Encircle the assertion of the manifesto with a black pen. Number 2. Number with red pen the two statements that show the current issue or concern. Number 3. Number with blue pen the two actions that the Labour Party intends to. And number 4, did the issuer give a convincing argument? Why? Pest management. Agricultural pesticides can degrade our environment, impacting soils, water, and pollinating insects. We will consult to set appropriate targets for the reduced use of harmful pesticides and fungicides and adopt the precautionary principle in regulations. We will provide more support to sustainable farming methods with a less reliance on chemicals. New classes of insecticides introduced in the last 20 years, including neonicotinoids and fipronil, appear to have been particularly damaging to insect life, sterilizing soils and killing insect grubs. 75% of insect losses recorded in Germany have been in protected areas adjacent to farmlands. We will review the regulations governing gene editing for disease resistance of crops and livestock feed to improve health and productivity and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. After reading and analyzing the text, what do you think is the assertion of the manifesto? The assertion of the manifesto is, we will consult to set appropriate targets for the reduced use of harmful pesticides and fungicides, and adopt the precautionary principle in regulations. We will provide more support to sustainable farming methods with less reliance on chemicals. How about the statements that show the current issue or concern? The two statements that show the current issue or concern are: new classes of insecticides introduced in the last 20 years, including neonicotinoids and fipronil, appear to have been particularly damaging to insect life, sterilizing soils and killing insect grubs. 75% of insect losses recorded in Germany have been in protected areas adjacent to farmlands. What about the actions that the Labour Party intends to? The actions that the Labour Party intends to: we will trial integrated pest management systems and support varietal trials to help farmers reduce reliance on harmful chemicals and deliver healthier soils, as well as cleaner water and thriving natural systems. And we will review the regulations governing gene editing for disease resistance of crops and livestock feed to improve health and productivity and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Did the issuer give a convincing argument? Possible answer for number 4 is, the issuer gave a convincing argument because it mentioned figures, place, and specific incident. Very good, learners! One more time and you'll have it. And for your next activity, directions. Briefly fill out the Analyzing Arguments worksheet with the reasons and support or evidence mentioned in this manifesto of PEN International entitled PEN International Women's Manifesto to find its claim. PEN International Women's Manifesto, the first and founding principle of the PEN Charter, asserts that literature knows no frontiers. These frontiers were traditionally thought of as borders between countries and people. For many women in the world, and for almost all women until relatively recently, the first and the last and perhaps the most powerful frontier was the door of the house she lived in, her parents' or her husband's home. For women to have free speech, the right to read, the right to write, they need to have the right to roam physically, socially, and intellectually, There are few social systems that do not regard with hostility a woman who walks by herself. Penn believes that violence against women in all its many forms, both within the walls of a home or in the public sphere, creates dangerous forms of censorship. Across the globe, culture, religion, and tradition are repeatedly valued above human rights and are used as arguments to encourage or defend harm against women and girls. Penn believes that the act of silencing a person is to deny their existence. It is a kind of death. Humanity is both wanting and bereft without the full and free expression of women's creativity and knowledge. So, what is the assertion of this manifesto? Assertion of the manifesto Penn International is, for many women in the world, the first and the last and perhaps the most powerful frontier was the door of the house she lived in, her parents' or her husband's home. The first reason, women need to have free speech. The supporting statements, women need the right to read, women need the right to write, women need to have the right to roam physically, socially, and intellectually. And only few social systems do not regard with hostility a woman who walks by herself. Reason number 2. Violence against women creates dangerous forms of censorship. And the supporting statements, across the globe, culture, religion, and tradition are repeatedly valued above human rights. And across the globe, culture, religion, and tradition are used as arguments to encourage or defend harm against women and girls. For reason number 3, silencing a person is to deny their existence. Supporting details or statements, silencing a person is a kind of death. Humanity is both wanting and bereft without the full and free expression of women's creativity and knowledge. The unstated information of this manifesto is, it does not say anything about the violence against men. It puts the value of faith and religion below human rights, yet the truth is that faith and culture define the rights to extend to everyone. The Bible tells about how people must live together, including the rules about gender. In conclusion, the issuer wants the women to have education, to learn to read and write, and I believe the same because it will bring only good for humanity. Directions. Read Manifesto by adolescents on the post-COVID-19 future in Italy, and to understand each agenda, identify the ramifications and the unstated assumption. You can send your answers through email. Great job, learners! Again, this is Teacher Team. See you in the next episode of Learning.